King Von's blow up in 2019 would help make OTF one of the most coveted labels when it came to gangster and drill rappers who really practice what they preached. Many 600 members had always been somewhat close to Lil Durk and OTF, but they would become even closer with the help of King Von, who had practically already been a member of 600. On the 9th of January, Mimo 600 and King Von would release the collaboration remix to Mimo's 2018 hit Exposing Me. This song would become a drill classic that spawned a slew of other remixes over the dark and moody Bollywood sampled beat, such as the FBG Duck and Ruger version that would end up becoming even more popular than the original, and New York rapper and alleged fake blood CJ with his chart-topping hit Whoopty, which would actually eventually lead to Mimo and King Von's version of the song being taken down from all streaming platforms due to copyright issues.
Where did you find the beat?
I think YouTube. Then I contacted the dude. First of all, I did the beat and he contacted me. Hey man, I'm a big fan. Ooh. Then from now on, we locked in.
Cause you know the Expose Me beat is the same beat that CJ used for Whoopty and then CJ ended up getting y'all song taken down. How did that even happen?
I FaceTimed him though. He say, man, I ain't even know that, ooh, cause they say like from their label that that's the reason why I was struck down. Yeah. Hey man, I'ma contact him. Ooh, he ain't never get back at me.
Anyway, just 6 days after dropping the Exposing Me remix with Von, Mimo 600 and Just Blow would release their song and music video titled Gang Bangin', which now sits over 3 million views. And in the music video, Just Blow and Mimo can be seen in a trap house with other members toting guns and throwing up sets, literally gangbanging. But also in the studio, Lil Durk himself would be seen listening to their song intently while bopping his head. At this time, Durk had already signed Booker, whose song Peso had made some waves in early 2018, and who had even dropped a full solo project on the label called 6 Summers, as well as performing on 2 OTF compilation mixtapes. Then, in March 2019, Durk would announce that he had also signed Mimo and Just Blow to OTF. Also in March, King Von would put out his song Cousins featuring Just Blow, followed by a music video in April where the freshly signed Just Blow and Mimo can be seen together with Von, Durk and Booker repping OTF to the fullest. Provided with the opportunity, Just Blow would then keep dropping and building his catalogue under his new label, as would Mimo, who would keep his foot on the gas, dropping another highly popular song and music video titled Steppers, which now stands at almost 10 million views. Meanwhile, Booker was preparing to drop his second solo project under OTF titled Word to LA. Booker had truly found his own voice as an artist by this point, often dropping highly melodic and emotional drill ballads all about the life in the streets, such as the Phil Collins sampling Baguette Bands, which would surprisingly have its music video released on the No Jumper channel. The video would feature nostalgic flashback clips from when LA Capone was still alive, along with C-Day and Rondo No. 9 still being free, all while Booker sings about losing his friends but gaining success, as well as the song War Scars, where the music video shows different important streets and locations from around the Washington Park and Woodlawn neighborhoods where Booker grew up, while he talks about the tragedies that he's seen in those places and the friends from around those areas he grew up with. Booker would also get some notable features on his songs, including T Grizzly, Lil Durk, and Lil Zay Osama, who would also later sign with OTF. But while Booker, Mimo, and Just Blow were now living the good life with OTF in Atlanta, internal disputes within 600 started to pop off, with S. releasing his version of Exposing Me, which was actually a diss track aimed at Mimo 600, as well as dissing him on social media and later opening up about the beef during a 16-shot interview.
I ain't gonna say no names, but truthfully, in Tate basement, always Tate, M-Thing, Rondo, D-Rose, you feel me, the elite squad. A lot of Joe Philly, a lot of Free Joe Philly, a lot of that's like, got a name now. They couldn't even come in Tate basement, bro. That's some real
We ain't gonna spend, look, like Melvin, Mimo was a goofy.
Let me say one more thing too though.
Goofy,
that shit, man. I don't know.
And I'm gonna keep it all the way funky. I'm gonna keep it 1,000, cause you feel me, shorty ass just ain't right. Yeah, that's how it is. You feel me? And I know what's coming next. What's coming with? We don't shorty. We catch him. We gonna beat it. Gonna beat him. Probably strip him. Everything he got. That's just what it is.
See,
I ain't
think about it, bro. When you start throwing a dead homie that you don't know nothing about, you feel me?
And real get on your
in his mouth, you feel me?
You feel me?
And it's a lot of that he don't even know that through our gang that's waiting to see him, you feel me? I ran into him on the streets. I seen he really wasn't like, ran up on him with a pipe on him, he really wasn't on.
Not like that.
I ran into him, he ain't on.
Same sense, it's like, man, it's like the same sense, like, man, congratulations on his success. All right, that's him, congratulations, we ain't no haters by far. Same sense, a lot of streets, a lot of these really like acting, bro, with this tough shit.
Then, at the end of June, while Mimo was seemingly back in Illinois, he would end up getting shot 3 times, later posting a video of himself being transported via helicopter and laying on a hospital bed. He would later open up about this incident during interviews, explaining how he'd been in the suburbs surrounding Chicago at a pool party, but what actually happened that day is largely unknown.
Yeah, I got shot in my hip. That
came out the middle of my chest.
Let me see.
I got shot right here. That shit came out the middle of my chest. I was at a pool party, gang. Miscellaneous shit. Some just shooting. I was just an innocent bystander, got hit. You know how that shit go.
However, Mimo wouldn't let that stop him, and already a few days later he was back to shooting another music video, this time for the song Wipe Your Nose, which would then drop in July with cameos from numerous 600 affiliates, such as O-Block members E-Dog and Boss Top, who had seemingly recently received some kind of injury on his hand. But while Mimo had survived his shooting, a few months later, one of 600's ops wouldn't be so lucky. Interestingly, this death would come on the birthday of one of the most beloved fallen members of 600, Mimo's brother Lil Steve. Killer KI was an older MOB member who is hailed as one of MOB's top shooters. He had allegedly put in a lot of work for the gang and had an extensive rap sheet of arrests, even by Chicago standards. During one of these prison stints, KI would get into a fight with a young King Von, with the post-fight prison interviews eventually making their way onto Reddit. On the 13th of September 2019, at around 11:30 PM, Killer Kai, real name Keith Lee, was standing on the 6000 block of South LaSalle Street when a silver SUV approached him and someone opened fire from the car. He was struck in the head and body, ultimately being pronounced dead at the scene. Due to this happening on Lil Steve's birthday, many drill fans on Reddit would immediately begin to consider this as another get back by 600, with some speculating that it was Boss Moo from 600 who had then fled to Florida. Rumors also spread that KI had been on a live stream shortly before his death, sharing his location and daring his ops to pull up, as seen in posts written to him on Facebook following his death, with one person asking what was he thinking, and another person saying that they had told him to stop posting his location. But we really can't prove the motive or the suspects, just going on coincidental dates and internet rumors. However, many internet sleuths have also theorized that MOB themselves might have gotten Killer KI killed. This is largely due to his internet activity around the time of his death. One example is him implying that there had been internal disagreements within the gang between MOB that he was claiming and younger guys who were claiming Scrap Gang. Named after Ruger's dead little brother, MOB Scrap, who was also, according to some rumors, indeed killed by 600. He would also write how people were calling him concerned that he was talking too much online and telling him to be cool. He'd also made several posts in September, not long before his death, seemingly thinking that his own people were about to betray him. On the 14th, a day after KI's death, a drill fan would then post a clip from an Instagram live where one of the members claiming Scrap Gang, Lil Des, would actually diss MOB, further supporting the rumors about KI allegedly being backdoored by his own set.
The real underscore MOB folk, his ass a goofy on Junebug grade. You wanna take a picture on our block? You know where the we at. On Scrap grade, your ass a goofy dude. On Scrap, MOB, I ain't gonna lie for y'all ass goofy for that good on Scrap grade. Your ass gonna wait till we get to Cali to go to Chicago, folks. You a goofy on Scrap grade, gonna take a picture on the block. On Scrap, boy. And you lucky your ass ain't trying to add me as a friend on her, boy. Your ass a goof.
Therefore, the majority of people seem to be convinced that he may well have been killed by people much closer to him rather than his enemies in 600. However, the next year, MOB would lose yet another member, and this time, 600 would be quick to claim responsibility. Dex was a younger and lesser known member of MOB. However, as he would tell his friends on Facebook in April 2020, he was seemingly planning on starting to rap to make it out of the streets.
I'm really trying to get in the stool now, like for a week or two I've been trying to get in the stool, bro, so I could drop some new music. I got some little ordered, you feel me? I'm trying to do that. Bro, I need everybody who my friend on Facebook who say they to support me on, bro.
Unfortunately, these plans would never come to fruition, as the next month, on the 6th of May, at around 11:30 AM, Dex, real name DeQuirian Goodwin, was on the 5000 block of South Indiana Avenue, walking through a vacant lot, when he was approached by an unknown man who drew for his gun, shooting Dex in the chest before fleeing. Sadly, when police and medics finally got to the scene, Dex had already passed away. Detectives would learn from a witness that there were actually two offenders who exited a white Dodge Journey SUV before shooting Dex and then fleeing northbound. One of these suspects was a black male in his 20s, apparently about 6 feet tall, with a low haircut, wearing a black jacket and stonewashed jeans. About a week later, the police would stop a matching car and arrest the driver, who would turn out to be a 27-year-old Jamal Moore, who is better known in the streets as Mally from the 600 affiliated crew Nico Gang. After getting a warrant on Mally's Facebook account, the detectives would discover that he had sent his phone number to several unidentified people shortly before and after the murder. They would also find that he had made 2 posts, possibly referencing the murder, where he would taunt his ops after their friend had been killed. His phone's location data would also place him near the scene of the crime at the very time when police had received a notification of shots fired, and video surveillance showed that on the day in question he had been driving the car suspected to be involved in the murder. Interestingly, one witness would also relate to the detectives that he had witnessed a phone call during which Dex had said that if something happened to him, his friends did it. Ultimately, Mally would not be charged with the murder due to insufficient evidence, although the Chicago police considered him the prime suspect. Meanwhile, online detectives have had their own suspicions about who may have committed this murder, given particularly that the second offender was never identified, with one of the popular theories being that the murder of Dex was actually get back for Waldo, with this theory being based particularly on the social media activity of Mimo and Cap 2012 following the murder, as both had made numerous provocative posts around the time of Dex's death. Mimo would post memorials to his brother Lil Steve, whilst also saying F scrap and claiming I get it done, whilst also saying how people love to claim stuff that they didn't do, with the clear implication being that it was his set that was responsible. Cap, on the other hand, would tweet laughing emojis together with a dart hitting a bullseye, seemingly implying that someone had hit a target, while also implying that when he was after someone, there was no talking him out of it, as well as saying that when his brother took a loss, he picked him up. Mimo also shared an Instagram story where he tagged Cap and added the text "lace up dummy," which could be seen as a subliminal hit to Dex, saying that he should have tied his shoes and ran. However, many also think that 600 might not have been directly involved, but simply are claiming the work of Nico Gang as their own, as the set that had been born in late 2014 in honor of Lil Nick, aka Savage Nico, had since become increasingly close with 600, and many even claim that Nico Gang is effectively the new generation of 600, as the younger people in the hood no longer claim 600.
Nico Gang _JB, JB _Nico Gang for sure. JB _Nico Gang.
This was perhaps a sign that members of 600 had finally moved on from actively participating in the war going on in the neighborhoods around where they grew up. However, the next year, 2 high-profile killings would take place that would broaden the war fields from the neighborhoods around Washington Park to some of the richest areas in Chicago, and even complete other cities. FBG Duck has been one of the most prominent names in media when it comes to the gang wars taking place in the neighborhoods around Washington Park. This is mainly due to the success that he's seen as a rapper, but Duck's popularity would explode to the next level in early 2018 when he dropped his first real mainstream hit song, Slide, which would even receive a remix from 21 Savage. Duck had been one of the first to start the trend in drill music of beefing with other sets and their members through songs, when he and E-Day would start to go back and forth in 2011. Ever since then, Duck had always been ready to take the beef to the music and never strayed away from mentioning ops by name, whether people like Lil Durk or Chief Keef's Glow Gang in the early years of drill, or Get Back Gang in 2017. However, after the success of Slide, at least momentarily, it seemed that Duck was prioritizing the creation of songs that could reach a mainstream audience. Ultimately, for a while, not necessarily relying on specific references to the gang war going on in his streets. However, the other side of that war had made dissing their ops a mainstream phenomenon, with many BD rappers popularizing disrespectful things like saying that they're smoking on specific dead people like Tuka. When King Von burst onto the mainstream in early 2019 with Crazy Story, he would really take the dissing of O-Block and 600's ops to whole new levels, including popularizing the lyric at the end of the Crazy Story song where he says, "We're not from 63rd," which of course is a reference to Duck's set STL, aka Tukaville from St. Lawrence and 63rd. Therefore, when Mimo and King Von came out with their Exposing Me remix, which included Von dissing Tuka, Lil Mark and Scrap, and Mimo dissing Poppy, Zico and Fats, it wasn't a surprise that Duck would respond with equal disrespect on his remix with Ruger, dissing numerous members of 600 and O-Block, including T-Roy, Lil Boo and Lil Steve, as well as Waldo, Sharoid, OD and D-Thang. This was soon after followed by the song I'm from 63rd, which is a direct response to Von's Crazy Story, and in the song, Duck makes fun of Von's storytelling style of rapping, claiming that Von's stories are all lies that only the fans think are real, as well as making fun of Von's fashion style and the fact he wears tight jeans, even seemingly predicting Von's death and planting the seeds to a conspiracy theory involving Lil Durk. It would seem that King Von's diss songs were really bringing the disrespectful side of FBG Duck out into the open. However, at the end of 2019, something would change, and Duck would put out the now classic song Chicago Legends, where briefly, Duck would choose the complete opposite approach, instead taking the high road, actually paying homage to the legends of Chicago drill culture, including a few of his ops, like Fredo Santana, who to be fair wasn't really known for dissing people, but more importantly, LA Capone from 600, who had in fact personally dissed Duck's FBG movement, as well as his gang set SDL, as well as Duck's friends Tuka, aka Shondell Gregory. Duck would actually end his song with a hopeful notion that really gave the appearance that he was trying to change the narrative and push for peace in Chicago. Unfortunately, King Von wasn't interested in any of that, and only a few months later, he would drop his song Took Her to the O, which was another storytelling format song, this time aimed squarely at FBG Duck, with Von basically rapping about how he would steal Duck's girlfriend and shoot and kill him, even recreating the murder in the music video. Now, it's not hard to see why this disrespectful song and video depicting Duck's death would cause Duck to scrap any plans of pushing positivity, and in July 2020, he would come out with perhaps his most disrespectful song ever, the infamous track Dead, where he would frame Chicago Legends as simply a business move before proceeding to diss numerous people from O-Block, including T-Roy, OD, J-Money, Sharoid, and Keita. However, Duck wouldn't stop the dissing at just O-Block, but he would also diss numerous people from 600, clearly showing how these two sets had at this point become inseparable in the eyes of their ops. And Duck would really pull no punches, dissing all of the most beloved members of 600, including Lil Boo, D-Thang, Baldy, and Lil Steve. Now, the rest is history, and if you want to know more about FBG Duck's situation, I've covered this in great detail in many other videos. Unfortunately for Duck, Duck, this song Dead Bitches would make him even more of a target for his enemies than he already was, and less than a month after that song released, he would be caught off guard by 6 assailants affiliated with O Block whilst he was shopping in Chicago's Gold Coast district. On August 4, 2020, FBG Duck was downtown Chicago on Oak Street right in front of the Dolce & Gabbana store, a long way away from his dangerous hood of St. Lawrence and 63rd, and he would have thought he was safe. Unfortunately for him, a man named THF was also out shopping that day inside the Milani boutique further up the road when he noticed Duck patrolling the same street. THF are an allied set to 600 and O Block, sharing a common enemy in FBG Duck and STL, but TZ himself hated Duck specifically for much more personal reasons. As a trial, it was found that Duck had actually been in an intimate relationship with the mother of TZ's child, with a jealous TZ swiftly making a call to O Block telling the gang that he had found the location of their top op, with FBG Duck allegedly having a $100,000 bounty on his head at this time. After making that call, 2 cars full of O Block members, armed with guns, would take a 30-minute drive from Parkway Gardens to the Gold Coast, gunning Duck down on sight. Those members would be Muwop, C-Thang, C-Murder, Kenny Mac, Los, and Zelmunna. CCTV footage from that brazen attack has now been released to the public, where 3 shooters can be seen emptying their pistols into Duck, and Duck's killers would seemingly evade justice for over a year until the feds swooped in and arrested them all.
Altitude on callback, a child answered and says that her mother left out of the door.
Yep, that's him.
And with the sloppy trail they left behind, ultimately they would all end up being found guilty. The defendants were famously named the O Block 6, but due to their lack of planning and the carelessness around the murder, some people have referred to them as the Sloppy 6, with C-Murder from O Block being found guilty on 5 counts as a shooter, as well as driver Kenny Mac from Front Street, the other driver Los Munna from O Block, while C-Thang from O Block was found guilty on 3 counts as a shooter, and TZ from THF called the shooters up, being found guilty on 2 counts. And finally, worst of all, Muwop from O Block was being found guilty on 5 counts of being a shooter. Zelmunna, the 3rd shooter, ultimately took his own life before the FBI concluded their investigation. However, one person who didn't face justice for the murder of Duck was the apparent leader of O Block in the streets, King Von, who by this point had become one of Chicago's most buzzing rappers, mainly off the back of rapping about the rumored murders he had allegedly committed in the gang war. Unfortunately for Von, he too would suffer a very similar fate to FBG Duck, but ironically for completely unrelated reasons. Despite being one of the most prolific killers in the gang war, King Von wound up losing his life in a rap beef rather than a gang beef. In the early morning hours of November 6, 2020, Von would be shot dead outside of an Atlanta nightclub after trying to start a fist fight with Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, a truly pointless rap industry beef that Quando Rondo had inherited from his friend and head of his label, NBA Youngboy, who had become bitter enemies with King Von in the months leading up to the fight that would ultimately claim Von's life. Perhaps Von, being from Chicago, didn't really take it seriously that Quando is actually from one of the most dangerous gangs in Georgia, Savannah's Rollin' 60s. And that night, he was being protected by one of the most notorious gangsters in the street of Savannah, Lil Tim, who opened fire on Von as soon as he saw him beating up Quando Rondo. This incident not only resulted in Von losing his life, but also his friend, the brother of T-Roy, Slutty, being shot by police who witnessed the shootout taking place. Slutty had actually managed to shoot Lil Tim in the leg after he'd shot Von, but at this point his gun jammed, at which point he attempted to run away, unknowingly running straight towards the armed police who opened fire. And in another truly tragic moment in this story, one of Von's best friends, Louis, would ultimately end up being shot by the police in this incident that Von had ultimately caused, with Louis receiving a bullet to the brain that he would fortunately survive, seemingly with permanent injuries, with this being just one final stroke of poetic irony in Von's life, considering just how much him and his friends had made fun of Wooski from STL for getting shot in the head and having life-changing injuries too. In the end, despite his reputation in the streets, King Von would lose his life to the gun on camera, just like FBG Duck, ending his meteoric rise in the rap game, a run that no one in Chicago had really gone on since Chief Keef's initial blow-up almost a decade earlier. In the days, months, and years following his death, Von's friends from 600 would show their love and respect to the honorary member. In the immediate aftermath, some of them would even take on his beef with NBA Youngboy and Quando Rondo. 600 Breezy would immediately post on social media how he was on his way to Youngboy's hometown of Baton Rouge with the Steppers. And about a month later, Mimo 600 too would make a trip, this time to Quando Rondo's hometown of Savannah, where he would pose for pictures and shoot a music video at a hood affiliated with Quando's crew, Frazier Holmes, even going on live at a local gas station and dissing Quando extensively. Drill fans weren't necessarily impressed with this supposed show of force, and many would respond with sarcastic comments about Mimo's reputation in the streets. In the end, this rap industry beef was miles apart, literally and figuratively, from the true gang war that members had been involved in on the streets of Chicago. And the idea that they would actually wage some kind of interstate gang war arguably was very much just something being done for the cameras. But what the members of 600 like Mimo, who were part of the same OTF label as Von, couldn't yet see at the time was that in a way, the death of King Von, unfortunately, also marked the beginning of another downfall of 600 in the rap industry.